What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. You know, I wasn't going to hop on, but I'm doing research anyways, so whoever wants to join can join in. I know this was a little impromptu live, but I'm just kind of going through this recent situation that occurred out in Philadelphia. So, what's up, Steph? Two planes aboard, this is an older article. It says the 31st or the two people on board, but we've recently found out that there were six people on board. Medical transport jet crashed in Philadelphia on Friday, 30 seconds after taking off, and set ablaze and landed near some poles and things like that. So I'm going to jump into some of these coverage here.
Trace, what are you learning about this plane and the reason it went down?
A couple of things real quick, Jesse, just to kind of go over what Rich was asking there about people on the ground. Rich Zioli, we do now know that there are several reports that people on the ground were injured. In fact, saying there are several injuries on the ground. So that gives you an idea of how powerful this was when it hit the intersection. It was in the middle of the intersection, didn't necessarily hit the mall, the Roosevelt Mall, which has stores like Macy's and Ross Dress for Less and restaurants around there. It hit an intersection, and the reports are there were several injuries on the ground and row houses on fire. It's important also to note, Jesse, the weather, just so we have clarity on this. The weather at the time of the takeoff at 6:06, temperature was 49 degrees, light rain, some fog, and wind gusts of 30 miles per hour. There is nothing to indicate any trouble there. If you look now at the flight data, it shows that at 6:06 the plane took off.
Yeah, this
and
is
it
getting
disappeared from radar 30 seconds later, which is an indication that sometime between 25 and 30 seconds, something catastrophic happened, because as you look at the video, there appeared to be some type of flames, whether it was an engine, whether it was inside the plane, unclear. But before it hit the ground, there were some kind of flames. Again, we have two doctors, two pilots, a patient, and a family member. We keep hearing small plane, and it is a Learjet 55. So just so people know, it's 43 feet wide, it's 55 feet long. So it's not that small, difficult to fly. But this is also a plane owned by Jet Rescue, and people don't recognize that. To a little bit of context, the company is based in Mexico. It flew Baseball Hall of Famer David Ortiz to Boston after he was shot in the Dominican Republic back in 2019. And of course, this same company involved in transporting patients critically ill with COVID-19. One fascinating thing is that Fox 29 now reporting in Philadelphia that because it was a medical transport plane, this is interesting, that the Philadelphia police telling a reporter there outside of McDonald's at Cotman Avenue and Roosevelt Boulevard, near where the plane crashed, there are pieces of the jet everywhere. But what's fascinating is a quarter of a mile away, Jesse, there is a medical oxygen tank that was found. And the speculation has been from pilots and other experts, maybe something happened. Maybe the configuration of this plane was, as you said at the top of your show, it was configured to be a flying ambulance, and there were oxygen tanks. And the possibility that one of those oxygen tanks may have leaked or exploded or something like that is now a very real possibility. And if you look at this, it was going to Springfield, Branson, Missouri, to be specific. That's the airport.
What's up, Johnny?
And we don't know exactly how much fuel it had on, but they can carry up to 1,400 pounds. So this thing is a flying bomb, especially just taking off. That's why when you see the picture on the middle of your screen there and you see that explosion, this thing could be loaded down with fuel and very dangerous and very lethal to the buildings and the people around the area of the crash scene. And of course, Sean Duffy, as you said, Jesse, has now confirmed there were in fact 6 people on board, several injuries on the ground, and the investigation is not even beginning at this point.
Yeah, you know, when they find the black box, I'm sure they'll learn a lot more. You mentioned this is like a jet ambulance. So if there's an emergency situation with a high-value individual, a VIP, you mentioned Hall of Fame baseball player, this thing's wheels up and is going to the best surgeon in the country. Doesn't matter where they are, whether it's Boston, Missouri, Los Angeles. This thing is ready to go, and it's loaded up. You called it a flying bomb. Explain to me how, if you have all these oxygen tanks, and we don't know what other gases or anything like that they had on the flight, because it's a kind of medically equipped flight, how could that have sparked an incident with the engine?
Well, it's unclear.
Go ahead.
It's unclear that it is the engine, Jesse. I mean, it's unclear that this was an engine. So, I mean, there's a good possibility it was an engine. There's a good possibility it had one. The question is, what is the black box tape going to show? Because that's the flight data recorder. That would record the conversation inside the cockpit, because we have heard
That's
nothing,
wild.
zero, about any contact with the tower between the time this thing went up and then it disappeared from radar. Unless they gave it a handoff at some point in 15, 20 seconds. But after that, after the explosion, after this thing lost air capacity and started twisting toward the ground, there is no word that we have heard yet there was any communication with the tower at all. An indication that the pilots were doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is to aviate, to navigate, and then to communicate. And the first thing you want to do
So they're
is
saying
to try
that they
to
lost
gain
communication
control
30
of the
seconds after the
aircraft before you
takeoff.
start telling people,
There was some
or,
potential
sending in a
oxygen
mayday of
on
some
the
sort. So I think
on the
basic
flight. This was a
capacity here
pediatric
for
flight.
investigators when they get
So
on
there was a
scene to
kid on
find
this
out,
flight.
was
Look at that
this an
explosion.
engine,
That's
or was this
insane.
something catastrophic
Sorry, guys.
that
I was
happened
just
on
jumping into this.
board
I'll
the
look
actual
at the chat
plane
here in a
that had
minute, but
nothing to do with the engine, but it either maybe blew a hole
yeah,
in there and they
pediatric
lost
patient,
pressure
and
something
now they're
else
saying
happened,
no
and then
survivors.
they
There were
lost
6
the
people on
ability to
board.
fly this plane. So it is really early and really too soon to be able to point at engines and point at anything else, because there's so many variables, especially in a medical jet like this, that can have various equipment on board that you normally would not have aboard your regular Learjet airplane.
Yeah, it's a unique aircraft. And like you said, it loses the ability to be seen on radar. Now, why does it all of a sudden disappear from radar? Is that because its transponder exploded in the explosion, or what would cause it to go off radar?
It could be a combination of things, Jesse. It either fell so fast. I mean, you look at the video there, and you know, this might have happened. The explosion might have happened at 29 seconds. They're saying that it went off radar at 30 seconds. So it took off at 6:06, and at 6:06:30, this thing went off radar, which is an indication that the explosion might have happened. And remember, it was at, and I heard you talking about this earlier, let me check, it was at 1,600 feet when this thing apparently started losing altitude. So it was at 1,600 feet. It was marked on radar, and then something happened. But at 30 seconds, it went off radar. It's not saying, and this thing didn't happen at 26 seconds or 23 seconds, and by the time it fell out of radar's reach, that was the 30 seconds. It might have been on the ground at that point. So it's really unclear exactly why it went off radar and exactly at what point in the fall it went off the radar. That's something the air traffic controllers would have to tell us. Was it a transponder issue? It's unlikely, because they would still kind of have a grasp. They would still have a sweep of it. So it's a
it's interesting. You know, I don't know if there's some jammers or something going on, but this is wild. This is wild. Happened one on Wednesday and then one today. It seems too bit of a coincidence. It seems too much of a coincidence here. Just those of you that are joining, that just jumped on, this is an older article. This was published a while ago, 8:30 p.m. EST. So those of you that are just joining, a medical transport jet crashed in Philadelphia on Friday, 30 seconds after taking off, setting homes ablaze and unleashing a fireball into the night sky. It says 2 people, but this is an older article. There were 6 total people on board. This was a paramedic flight situation here. Crash happened at least 3 miles away from the Northwest Airport. Yeah, this is wild. Let me see what else I can find here. There was some crazy situations here. This is absolutely heartbreaking. Medical jet crash in Philly. Whoops, let me blow that up. There we go. Medical jet crash in Philly transporting a paramedic patient.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! What the hell? What the hell? What the hell? Oh my God! Oh my God!
Oh man, that's so gnarly. There was some footage caught on some Ring doorbells. Um, wow. Oh, here we go. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Look at that. That is crazy. They're saying that it might have caught on fire in midair, but I don't know. I don't know. Uh Firewood said, "Yeah, my gut's saying something's up." Yeah, me too. I we were just kind of talking about this on the Discord group, and while I was watching this kind of unfold, I thought, "Hey, why don't we just hop on a live?" But my gut is saying that something ain't right. Something ain't right. Maybe some jammers or something like that. We know that, you know, we know that we've had that cyber situation with the Chinese. I'm not saying anything, presumably for the YouTube purposes, but this is crazy. Those drones now. This is that's what I'm thinking, Steph. That's what I'm thinking, Stace. That's what I'm thinking. That's I'm thinking the same thing. Some type of jammers or something occurring to make these planes go down like this. This is crazy. Yeah, this is yeah, this is a dash cam. This is a dash cam from somebody. Stacy says they already have evidence. Yeah. I'm thinking it. I'm personally thinking it's something like the jammer situation with China or something. Let's jump into this here.
With our prayers are with all of you tonight. Can you give us an idea of the status of what's going on the ground? My understanding is homes have been impacted. It's right next to a mall. I know we don't have any casualty count, but are you getting this under control and contained?
Sean, from what I'm hearing from our members, and I have a radio, they did an outstanding job when it initially arrived. I heard the initial report. They had multiple dwellings on fire, and I imagine it was from the jet fuel. And in our business, whenever there's a flammable liquid involved, it makes our job 10 times harder. And if that plane would have struck a little bit more south, in Philadelphia, we have row-type dwellings. They're all attached. There could be 60, 70 in a row, and they're about 70, 80 years old, these dwellings. They go up like lumber yards. These members, I can't believe how they did it, but they stopped this fire from extending down those rows of dwellings and got everybody evacuated. Like I said, if that plane would have hit somewhere mid-block, we potentially could have lost 3 blocks of row dwellings with people trapped, et cetera. And the incident commanders that were working tonight, I know them personally, and they're some of our most experienced and best, and they were cool as a cucumber and divided their forces and got these fires in the dwellings under control very rapidly.
Yeah. A fire like this is even more challenging when you consider, jet fuel in particular, which is so flammable. Tell us about the preparations and special equipment you might need in a scenario like this unfolding.
Well, listen, in this case, Sean, this is just a down and dirty fight because you got lives in the balance. And technically with Class B fires like this, you would need some type of foam. Water can do it, but you got to work extra hard to disperse that water and douse those flames. And I couldn't be more proud of our members tonight. It's tragic, but this could have been a lot
to
worse.
Answer Johnny Sunglasses, it was the Philly bridge that went down back in.
The governor and the mayor and Sean Duffy and everybody involved.
Was it the Philly bridge? The Ben Franklin Bridge in Philadelphia?
It seems like an all hands on deck moment. I assume that any neighboring fire companies are jumping on.
Oh no, that was
well.
in the Delaware River
with
the
the
Delaware River, Franklin Bridge, the Ben Franklin Bridge. You guys remember that when that tugboat ran into that bridge?
Engines, 30 ladders, and over 60 medic units. So something of this nature we can handle in house. But I have had multiple jurisdictions, union presidents reach
I live
out
near
to
the
me.
airport all day listening to the
But like I
planes and
said, our
helicopters. I
members got
can't help
this
but
under
worry. Yeah.
control pretty quickly.
You know,
You've seen a lot of smoke and fire.
I came
Later
across
on,
this
that was the
here.
autos
Let me
burning,
jump
which
into
they put
this.
secondary because there's no life hazard.
Look at this. This is a dash cam footage here.
Oh, Michael!
And, yep.
Oh, Michael!
Man, those flames look purple. What would cause purple flames? Wow. What would cause these purple flames here? Oh, that was in Baltimore. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that was sorry about that, guys. That was in Baltimore with the tugboat. Jet fuel? Yeah, maybe.
Oh, Michael! Move!
That's crazy. It's crazy. Let me see what else is going on here. Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow. I'm trying to remember the science and the hottest that I can remember. It would be interactive with the chemical. Yeah. I Googled the average, how many times plane crash daily. Also look at like how many planes actually take off too. I'd like to know that number. If you could pop that in the chat, Catherine, that'd be great. Ships hitting bridges, planes crashing. Yep. Anything with potassium flashes purple. Okay, thank you. Yeah, you would know. You would know. You're you know your science for sure. Man. I'm gonna see if they Trump did release a statement about this. Where did I see it? It was right here. Sad to see the plane go down in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. More incidents, so more innocent souls are lost. Our people are totally engaged. First responders are already been given the credit for doing a great job. More to follow. God bless. Man. I'm jumping on the.
What you know about Lears, I happen to know a lot about them. I have friends that are pilots. It's a little bit different than your average commuter private jet, in as much as
I'm
it's
jamming for
described
cars
by
to shut them
pilots
down
as a
and
sports
new
car in the
hires
air.
let the kids play with the
what do you
remote.
see with that speed and trajectory?
Right, it's a
Yeah,
very
he was on his way to
fast and
Mar-a-Lago.
capable airplane. To me, this looks like a loss of control accident, and you know the question is what caused the loss of control. I happened to be driving through Philadelphia tonight at around the time this plane went down, and there's very low cloud cover. I heard the transmission from air traffic control from the tower giving the pilot directions. He was supposed to take off on runway 24 and then make a climbing right turn to a heading of 290, which is basically
I've been a first
northwest.
responder for 20 years. My anxiety's through the roof.
Impact
Yeah,
site
for
is
sure.
back to the east. So it
Catherine
seems
said
to
on
me
average,
that they got
45 to
lost
50,000
almost
planes
as soon
take
as they
off
got up
in
the
America
clouds,
daily.
which would
Wow.
have been 100 feet off the ground or less. And
Well, they
you know,
never, but they never responded, John. I listened to the
Correct.
same tape that you listened to. They never
Right.
responded, and the control tower kept reaching out,
Right.
trying to make contact, and there was no contact, and this is the end result. Obviously, something happened here. I had some guests that said they didn't think it could be a possible stall. I have pilot friends of mine that do fly jets, and they suspect it might be a stall based on the speed, the trajectory. It did reach an altitude of about 1,600 feet and then dropped off at about 2,400 feet per minute in that descent. You see it, it's like a rocket ship, you know, headed straight down to Earth, or a meteorite.
Right, exactly. Well, that's one of your previous guests said that they'll be looking for pieces that might have come off the airplane, and I wonder about that. But it might be something as simple as, you know, I don't know whether this was whether this jet was equipped with a glass cockpit or whether it.
I'm going to jump into this one real quick. Hold on. I'm kind of just going back and forth here, catching up the feed.
What is it?
Wow.
No, it came out the sky. It came out the sky. Oh my God. What is it, a plane? It just came out that sky. No, it's a car. They house on fire.
Ooh.
Is it a plane or a car?
Giving me the chills.
Oh my God.
There was some footage about, I can't show it on this, but there was an individual, I guess, caught on fire or something. He was close to it. He caught on fire and he was walking out of that wreckage. The wreckage is wild. Prayers. Luckily, they acted fast and cut off the gas lines immediately. Yeah, poor. Yeah, 100%. My prayers go out to everybody out there. Poor people. Yeah. I live right next to the airport. Every year, airplanes miss the runway and crash into houses. Let me jump back into this situation here.
This was the case of a Sikorsky helicopter, and every police helicopter had been grounded because of low cloud cover, and they requested a visual flight. It's a two-pilot chopper, and yet they only had one pilot using it. And apparently they were missing some of the instrumentation that would have guided them around what ended up being the mountain that they crashed into. And that could have been, in my view, preventable, at least according to every expert that I talked to. What will we look for? The black box certainly will have the communications with the control tower, but there's a lot of other information that will be in there that they will glean from this, assuming they find it. I understand that they did locate the black boxes based on the mid-air crash in the Potomac from earlier in the week. If they find the black boxes to this Lear, what other information can they glean from that, John?
Well, they'll get a lot from it. Obviously, they'll have cockpit communications. Obviously, one of the pilots would have said something to the other about, I've lost instruments or I've lost lighting. I don't know. The rule is aviate, navigate, and communicate. You do those things in order. So if you've got a problem, the first thing
just came across some footage. Some debris flew through a restaurant window.
That's the third thing on your list.
On Cotton Avenue, and hit some customers in the head as they were eating.
They were trying to, I'm sure, figure it out.
Here we
It's just a
go. Here, let
question
me jump into that
what
real
was it
quick.
that happened. Again,
I'm going to be
I
kind of
think they
jumping back and
somehow
forth,
lost
so just
their
kind of bear
instinct.
with me because
I don't think the plane
I'm
was
looking
on
at this with
fire
you
as
guys.
it was
So
coming down. I think that video that showed.
where'd it go? Here it is.
I think this part, right?
So a piece of metal from the plane came through.
Yeah, they just left everything.
Did they take it from you?
Not from me, but one of my manager. Yeah, the guy was sitting right here.
So it came through the window and landed all the way over here, all the way here in the seat.
Yeah.
Was somebody eating at the time?
Yeah.
They didn't get hurt though, right?
No, I think it hit his head.
It hit the customer in the head.
Yeah.
Okay, but luckily everybody's safe. But something flew through the window. You had no idea. Did you?
Wow. Yeah, so it lost, apparently it lost radar 60, I think it was like 60 seconds after takeoff, and then it began to fall. You lose radar when you turn off the transponders. The throttle was wide open and had a fuel load. Yeah, it was in a straight vertical downfall there. Stacy says, I wonder how much of this is bad hiring practices. I don't know. Transponder turned off above a house in Virginia crash. Yep. Yeah, we were talking about that on the Discord group. Yeah, something near like a Saudi situation, right? But if China's hacking and jamming, whatever's causing these planes to crash, this would get ugly. Yeah. Yeah. Let me jump back into this one. Hold on, guys. I'm going to see what Newsmax is going on in Newsmax. Hold on. It's crazy. This is crazy to me. Nope. Nothing on Newsmax. Seems like Fox is the only one that's covering it.
It's hard to imagine. I mean, it is almost a vertical drop if you're looking at it. It's not quite vertical. Almost vertical. I don't recall ever seeing that before. Do you?
Well, I have seen it. I can't think of, a particular crash or case, but I have seen that kind of thing. There was the plane crash. It was a turboprop that killed the family of country singers or gospel singers. I've lost the name, but that happened on the Montana-Wyoming border earlier this year.
Wasn't that a King Air, if I recall, or no?
I think
that was Paul
Pilatus.
Wellstone was a King Air.
It was a Pilatus PC-12 is what it was, which
Pilatus is a single-engine prop jet, yes.
Turboprop, right.
Turboprop, yeah.
And I think that plane came down at a very steep angle, and the feeling, I believe that the preliminary indication from the NTSB is loss of.
Look at this right here, guys.
Fucking plane just crashed.
Not this one. Oh yeah, it is this one. Look at this here. This just seems, it looks like it's on fire before it drops right there, but I don't know what this is right here. That's a massive explosion. Man. I don't know. I don't know what that is there. Miguel says, I've seen 2 videos, so-called Black Hawk accident. Yeah. We know Biden was a foreign agent too, probably why everything he felt intentionally done to destroy America. Yep, in the Communist Manifesto. Yeah, appreciate you too, Johnny. Yeah, thanks. I saw the radar on the Black Hawk, and it missed 3 planes before hitting the 4th. Yeah, and that Black Hawk was cruising. That Black Hawk was cruising really fast. It was going really, really fast. I don't get that situation either. Let me see what else is up here.
Have set up. They may have figured that they were going to get routed around by air traffic control for a while, and maybe they were going to program the autopilot later. It's anybody's guess, really.
Yeah. John, how many years you been flying, my friend?
More than 20 now.
Oh my gosh. Do you fly jets also, or what do you fly?
No. I only fly things that I can afford, and I can't afford a jet. But
they're not inexpensive. There's no doubt.
I have spent some time in jet.
So here's the most recent update. Six folks killed on the airplane, excuse me, that just took off from Northeast Philadelphia Airport. Sources tell 2 doctors, 2 pilots, 1 patient, and 1 family member. No updates yet on the people on the ground.
Really get to see their skill when something goes wrong. And you pointed this out earlier, and I heard your comments. The safety record of flying, now it is extraordinarily strange in light of what happened with this mid-air crash this week, that we would have back-to-back crashes like this, although very different in nature. But flying is one of the safest things you can do, and the fact that over 100,000 commercial flights will take off every single day, and it's, I think it's 0.8%, of any incident that takes place is a pretty darn good track record. I wouldn't say we've perfected flight, but we've come pretty darn close to perfecting it.
I don't know the statistics on highway fatalities. A few years ago, maybe a decade ago, the last time I was paying attention, we were losing 50,000 people a year to highway accidents, So the fact that since the Colgan Air crash, which was back in the early 2000s, we had lost nobody in a commercial aircraft crash in this country until the plane hit the chopper over the Potomac.
Yeah, I remember there was that Lear that went down in Connecticut. We mentioned the other Lear with the pop star that went down. There was another Lear, a Lear 35. This is a Lear 55 we're talking about today, that crashed at Teterboro. If I recall the year correctly, it was 2017. In that case, it was a stall on approach to landing that resulted in a high-speed nose-down altitude. And this is why I'm getting bombarded with people that I know in aviation and pilots that I know, and the consensus among them is that they believe their gut is telling them, at least the majority of texts that I'm reading as we're on the air here, that this could be a stall, and it wouldn't be the first time for a Lear. But anyway, John, we really appreciate your expertise, the time you spent with us, and as always, we'll be watching you.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. I appreciate it.
All right, we go now to former Black Hawk helicopter pilot, Republican.
Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Let me just run through this chat real quick here. Yeah, God received more angels tonight. Bless them all. Yep. Amen to that. Amen to that, Stacy. Very appropriate. Well said, Stace. Fireworks at 1.5 acre flat lot, hardwood floors throughout the home, fully updated baths on. He's speaking about that. I think you're talking about that home that was on right above from the incident from Wednesday that occurred on Wednesday. There was this blacked out home, and then the transmitter went off. Yeah, this is gnarly. California's about to get 12 inches of rain, mudslides, and rain, people. Yeah. Yeah, the storm's coming in. The storm is coming in. Here's some more clear footage from that incident on Wednesday. This was obtained by CNN here.
In the first video, the Black Hawk can be seen flying at speed over the Potomac from the left side of the screen. The American Airlines plane can be seen flying towards the airport before the two collide, causing a mid-air explosion and fall into the river. In the second video, you can see the Army helicopter and American Airlines plane travel toward each other. After the collision and subsequent explosion, the airliner can be seen spinning into the water, and the Black Hawk is also seen falling into the water.
That thing was jamming. That thing was flying so fast. Crazy how our attention are from the left to right. East Coast Helen, Cali fires, now plane crash on the east. WTF. Interesting. Interesting. I am going to pull that up. What is that? What's going on? I'm going to pull that up here. I wrote that down. Yeah. I don't think that this was a particular accident here. I'm not going to play the volume on this, but that Black Hawk was jamming. This was slowed down. But the second footage on this, the Black Hawk was flying like fast. Look at how fast that thing's going. That's crazy. Weather patterns are also effed up. Yeah. That Black Hawk was like locked on. Yeah. It just looks like it. It just looks like it.
those cars with the traffic. Here comes this plane smacking down right in the middle, so hard that I'm told by some fire officials, Sean, a gas line ruptured. 6 houses were on fire and 6 cars were on fire. So you can see it in that Ring doorbell video. It's wild when you watch these things happen, as we just saw, too, with what happened over at the airport near Washington, D.C. It looks like a fireball coming down, and people in the area thought, what just happened? I just heard and felt an explosion. So some people were telling local reporters, Sean, that they felt like they were under attack. The debris is everywhere. So they go and they put these fires out as quickly as they can. And you talked to that fire official, too, said that they responded fast. These were row houses, so they're all packed in there together. I guess that's pretty popular in Philly. So it kind of spread through those homes pretty quickly, but they were able to get those people out. So 6 people, according to this group, didn't make it, but we don't know about the injuries on the ground.
And then a Lear 55 would have about 1,000 gallons of jet fuel, and on takeoff, I would imagine it was probably pretty close to full, if not full. So that's a lot of fuel, and coming down at that trajectory and that speed.
I don't know if this is true or not. But it looks like multiple flights had an emergency distress call. One flying from Las Vegas to Cabo San Lucas, Tampa to Toronto, and Nottingham to Cincinnati. Squawk 7700. Squawk 7700 is an emergency call. Emergency indicates aircraft is distressed and needs priority handling from the air traffic control. Oh, here we go. Let's see.
We've been waiting for the governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to speak. You can see that he has local, I believe the mayor is with him, the mayor of Philadelphia, also fire officials, first responders, police officials. Let's listen in with the mayor and the governor.
Went down in the vicinity of Roosevelt Mall on Cottman Avenue, and it did occur shortly after 6 p.m. Again, we have no reports on the number of fatalities, so we are asking everyone for their thoughts and prayers for all who may have been impacted and affected by this tragedy. Several dwellings and vehicles were also impacted, and so we are urging people, particularly those families who live in the surrounding area, to please stay home if possible. If you see any debris, and those who are conducting the investigations have repeated consistently, please do not touch anything because it is still an active investigation. Just call 911, please, if you see anything. Investigators and all of our federal, state, and local partners are working as expeditiously as possible during this very difficult time. New information that we want to share with you, that shelter is now available at the Samuel Fells High School located at 5500 Langdon Street. Samuel Fells High School, 5500 Langdon Street. If anyone has been impacted and you need shelter and support, it is readily available for you. In terms of our federal and state partners, I want to say a special thank you to the NTSB. They are here on site now. The FAA, the Pennsylvania State Police, Pennsylvania DEP, of course our police and fire departments, and OEM. I am here with Governor Shapiro. We've been in constant contact since it started. You'll be hearing from him shortly. But I also want to say a special thank you to our additional partners who we have spoken with, our federal leaders, U.S. Senators Fetterman and McCormick. Thank you so very much. All hands on deck. They wanted to make sure any and everything that we needed from the federal government, those supports and services are available. Congressman Evans, Boyle, and Scanlon, our congressional delegation, a special thank you to each of you for your support I also need to affirm that locally here, Senator Joe Picozzi, Rep. Solomon, Reps. Nielsen, Doherty, who represents this area, and Bellman, Commissioner Dealey, and Council Member Driscoll was present. If there was ever a time when we needed to affirm what the One Philly philosophy means, the time is now, and I'm very proud about how our federal, state, and all of our local partners are working hard to deal with this tragedy. I now want to turn it over to our governor and to say thank you, Governor, for your support and being here with us this evening.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. The mayor preaches about One Philly. She talks about a unified approach to governing every day. What you're seeing here is a unified response to an awful aviation disaster. For as awful as that aviation disaster was, tonight we also saw the best of Philly. We saw neighbor helping neighbor. We saw Pennsylvanians looking out for one another. I want to reaffirm the comments the mayor said about all of the different agencies working together, and I want to especially thank and salute Philly Fire and Philly Police, who did an extraordinary job this evening. We know that there will be loss in this region, and we want to offer our thoughts and our serious prayers for those who are grieving at this moment. The mayor knows, and I want you all to know, that the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania stands firmly with our partners in the city. We have, at the request of Commissioner Bethel, 45 state troopers who are on the ground right here in Northeast Philly. We have 25 members of our PennDOT team who are here right now. We have members of the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Authority who are here, including our director, Randy Padfield, who joins me behind here. We also have members of DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection, who are here to make sure that any hazardous materials are addressed. And as you heard the mayor reference, we're joined by several state representatives and senators. I want to thank them. They will make sure that whatever is needed for this community gets to this community. I also spoke earlier this evening with the United States Secretary of Transportation, Secretary Duffy, who offered his full support to Northeast Philly. And as the mayor alluded to, he has dispatched 4 members of the FAA to Philly, and there are 4 members of NTSB on their way as well. We have all the resources that we need. And again, as the mayor always says, One Philly, we are unified in our approach to deal with this emergency. And again, I'll just end by sharing my prayers, the prayers of my wife, Lori, our First Lady, and on behalf of 13 million Pennsylvanians, we are all here for Northeast Philly tonight in this very, very difficult moment. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you all. When we have additional information to report, we will come back and give another briefing. But now we want to let our federal, state, and local partners do their jobs and go to work. We'll report back to you when we have more information. Thank you all so very much for your patience and understanding.
The mayor of Philadelphia, the governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the mayor emphasizing.
Good job. Good job. Well done, Pennsylvania. Gives me hope that some states have it together during the emergency. Yeah. So I'm going to jump into this real quick. While the mayor was talking, I had pulled up this this right here. So this is the airline. Jet Rescue. They haven't announced an official statement from Jet Rescue. Supposedly registered in Mexico. Jet Rescue Worldwide Critical Care Ambulance. Man, six individuals on the plane in Philadelphia. Those of you that are just joining were Mexican nationals, presumably. I don't know yet. I'm just reading this. 4 crew members, 1 minor, parent heading to Tijuana, Mexico after treatment. Very experienced pilots who have about 600 flights per year. There hasn't been an official statement yet from the jet rescue.
Inability or when they recover. Charlie, we're just out of time this hour, but hopefully when those black boxes are recovered, we'll get a lot more information on how this happened. Our prayers are with everybody impacted by all of this. I know I speak for the entire country. It's sad. That's all the time we have left this evening. Please stay with the Fox News channel. We'll have continuing coverage of this Learjet 55 going down outside of Philadelphia. Our coverage continues now with my friend and my colleague, Trace Gallagher. Thank you for being with us.
Wow, let me see.
It's 10 p.m. on the East Coast, 7 o'clock.
Let me see what else is popping up here.
This is a special edition of American.
I was just waiting for a statement from somebody. I'm glad that they had that.
And breaking tonight, we have another plane crash less than 48 hours after the first. This time, we're talking about a medical transport plane. It's a Learjet 55, and apparently it crashed just outside of a mall in Philadelphia. Shortly after 6 o'clock, this Learjet
doesn't look like there's any new information on this.
Air traffic control is saying around 6:06. And at 6:06:30 seconds, it apparently went off radar. So it went off radar and that crashed into the ground, heavily fueled, and exploded. You can see the pictures there. 6 people on board. There are no reports of any survivors. We're talking about 4 crew members, including a young medical patient and her mother. The crash ignited several fires on the ground. Hundreds of rescue workers and officials on the scene. We will have live coverage throughout the night. This happened in Philadelphia, about maybe 12 to 15 miles away from the North Philly airport where it took off. Let's begin with Alexis McAdams. Alexis, she's live for us in New York. What do you know? What are you hearing about this?
Hey, Trace. Well, as you were on earlier, too, and it was all developing, we were trying to figure out who was on that airplane. We now know, finding out just a short time ago from some officials who work with jet rescue, that it was a little girl, we don't know her age, who was from Mexico, who had been getting life-saving treatment in Philadelphia. So they have some of the best hospitals. So somebody paid to allow her to come from Mexico near Tijuana with her mom to get this life-saving treatment. They had just wrapped up that treatment, I'm told, today. They were on that airplane with a crew who were all Mexican nationals as well. They were going to be heading to Missouri to refuel. So when we're talking about how much fuel was on that plane, they had just taken off. They were going to stop in Missouri, refuel, and head back to Tijuana, Mexico. So if that doesn't break your heart, I don't know what was. This girl went through all these procedures and treatments, and her plane went down on her way home. So that's coming as we're learning more details also about these fires. So I think, you talked to all these aviation experts and they try to explain, was the plane on fire when it was going down? Well, all you know is the thing slammed right into the middle of a very busy area. This was around rush hour in Philadelphia. So people were coming and going all near that mall. And then you see this huge fireball come right down. There is so much debris. There are pieces all over the place of this jet. So big pieces, small pieces, and the entire area is covered in jet fuel. So that's kind of the main concern, as you just heard from the mayor and also the governor. They've got 4 FAA officials heading there, 4 NTSB crews, 45 state troopers, and lots of fire crews. I just got off the phone a short time ago, too, with one of those fire officials who told me the fires are under control, but that was after 2 homes at least were lit on fire. It spread then to 6 row homes. So 6 row homes near that mall, Trace, lit on fire. At least 6 cars near that mall went up into flames. So that's why when you're looking at what looked like a war zone in some of that video, was because it was igniting, popping, and then combine it with the jet fuel. This thing was pretty much a disaster. So going back to sending our thoughts and prayers to this little girl's family who's now finding out that she's not coming home. We'll have more details, though, as we get it.
Yeah, Alexa McAdams will get back to you as the news warrants. Thank you. Yeah, they talk about this, and the reporting on the ground is that there are a number of injuries of people around there. Some of them are reported burns. We do not know if those people were actually in the vicinity of the crash itself or if they were in the homes that caught fire. There were some row homes that were in nearby this mall. The mall itself, the Roosevelt Mall, includes stores like Macy's and Ross Dress for Less, and it has things like Raising Cane, a series of restaurants on the outside. And this apparently crashed in an intersection very near the mall. And so the injuries happened in the people who were near those areas walking or in the homes nearby. But the authorities have not told us exactly where the injuries happened, just that they did happen. It's interesting because there was also a report from our Fox affiliate in Philadelphia that said that they found debris scattered for a wide area. And then they found a quarter of a mile away was an actual oxygen tank. And there was no speculation as to see if the oxygen tank was damaged in any capacity. So we don't know that. But a lot of the airline experts are speculating that maybe oxygen played a role in this. Again, it's early. Nobody knows because other airline experts will say, we don't really know. We have no idea. They think it probably looks like engine failure. And our own John
does the rest of the world understand what row homes
are?
People come from Philly, from college, and they don't understand them. Yeah. Row homes are generally single-family homes. They're super close together, generally connected.
Of some sort of disorientation.
I want to bring in a
witness to this
but they're really close together. They're really generally like touching, and they're 2-3 stories high. And if one catches, they all catch. I think I did a decent job at that. Describing those, but generally they're placed close together or connected, and they're about the same height, almost look like apartment complexes, but they're single-family homes.
I witnessed this huge fireball, and flames were everywhere. And I rushed to the scene, and that's when literally everything in front of me was on fire. Parts were scattered everywhere from the plane. And so I went out to cover it, but almost immediately the officers came up to me and said that I had to get out of the area. So I was scrambling to find another vantage point as everything was unfolding. And that's what I witnessed. I witnessed flames everywhere. Houses were on fire as well. And just, as I said, debris scattered everywhere. And also, too, at this press conference, you did hear the governor and the mayor reiterate not to touch any of the aircraft parts because it's part of the crime scene investigation. And when I covered the incident in D.C. as well, the same sentiment was shown there as well. Don't touch anything on the ground because it's all a crime scene investigation right now as they work to figure out what happened.
Kyle, I'm just wondering, did you see, because there are reports of injuries on the ground, did you see anybody who had been hurt, anybody who you believe that might have been hurt, or did you hear about where the debris actually went? Is it the debris that started the fires in the row houses, or was that the flames and the actual explosion itself?
Well, I think that the flames were a big part of it, really, honestly. The flames were so intense, and as you see, the damage is so widespread. And as far as
so, just to confirm, Ergy says they share walls. So share walls, same height, 2 to 3 stories tall.
I didn't see
look like apartment complexes, but they're single-family homes.
Who had burns on them, but I did see a lot of people running away from that scene. And like I said, as it was happening so quickly, so fast, that's when I tried to get those images. But again, the police were just escorting everybody out, because the damage and debris field is so wide, and they just are very worried about contamination and just keeping everyone safe.
Could you smell anything, Kyle? I mean, was there a smell in the air? Was it the smoke? Man. Could you smell the jet fuel?
Of course I could smell that, and I could also smell, obviously, the smoke from the fire itself. And it was very intense, and I coughed a lot. You can hardly breathe in that. And covering fires, too, I'm quite used to that, but this was more intense since it added jet fuel on top of, a regular fire. So it was really intense just to feel that and to see all of that unfold.
Yeah, it's interesting because you look at this, Kyle, and the pictures are just amazing of the explosion. And I'm wondering, do you talk to anybody who was closer who might have felt the heat? Was there any feeling of how strong this actual heat and how far that it was actually felt?
Well, I think that everyone, when adrenaline rushes, I think everyone was focused on getting out of the area, as everything was happening. And I don't think, in that moment you feel that. You want to get out. You want to get out of harm's way. And that's primarily what I wanted to do as well, because the police, as I said, were escorting me and everyone else basically out of the area as the fires and flames were burning. So, the injuries that, a lot of people probably felt on the ground.
Yeah, here's a situation that Boris is talking about that happened a couple days ago. An F-35A fighter jet. Thanks, chat. Thanks for bringing that up. Appreciate that. Appreciate that, Boris. F-35A fighter jet crashed on an Air Force base on Tuesday. No fatalities. It seems fishy to me, guys. It seems really fishy to me. This happened on Tuesday, F-35 on an Air Force base. Thanks, Boris. Appreciate that. Yeah, this to have this fighter jet just kind of fall like that. The pilot ejected. I don't know. Seems kind of nefarious to me. Seems like something's going on.
And I'm going to kind of put this up there for you. But John Scott was saying the weather he thinks was a factor because he was actually in Philadelphia driving through at the time of the crash. Fox 29's Drew Anderson says that ice was not a factor due to the plane's altitude at the time of the crash, meaning that for planes to ice, you need to be at a higher altitude where the temperatures are a lot colder.
Oh, let me restart that. Let me see if there's anything else. Oxygen emergency on planes is made by a chemical reaction in those masks that drop. Air ambulances and life flight medevac helicopters bring portable oxygen containers. So that explains the severe explosion there. Man, that kid just had some life-saving treatment. That's hard. That's hard to hear.
At the thermometer on my truck, and it said 49 degrees. So it would have been very close to that at 1,600 feet, which is the maximum altitude that they reached. Icing, meaning ice coating the wings and causing the plane to behave erratically and maybe come down. That was not a factor here. But I just have to wonder if they didn't either lose instruments or lose lighting in the cockpit somehow right after takeoff, because to get only to 1,600 feet and then come down the way they did suggests they lost control of the airplane. And I think that's because they couldn't tell up from down. Now, you know, it could have been a case where they maybe they knew they had a problem. Maybe they tried to pull back on the yoke and they overcorrected and something might have fallen off the plane. If they find a piece of a wing or the horizontal stabilizer, tomorrow in somebody's backyard, that's going to tell them a lot about what caused this accident.
Yeah, I was reading this.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Energy says the oxygen on the planes don't necessarily cause those explosions. Thank you for that. Thanks.
Climbing to an altitude of, as you mentioned, 1,600
This
feet,
is crazy.
The process of disappearing from radar, John, is it when you lose the transponder, or can radar still pick you up until you actually get to an altitude where it can no longer scan?
Well, you know, the radar, it's just you see those antennas, you know, swirling around in circles. So they register.
Yeah, why were there so many explosions from one plane crash?
Speed is.
It landed close.
The radar will sweep around in a 360
those are row homes right there.
Seconds or so, it will
in that video.
Target, in this case, the jet. The fact that it disappeared from radar simply means
I don't know.
The radar turned away.
I have no idea. The explosion looks really large.
The speed with which this thing dropped makes complete sense, I think.
Yeah. John, I want you to listen with me because we just got our first recording of the audio, the tower audio with this plane. It's a little long.
You know, like I talked about earlier on the stream.
I want you to listen and then we can kind of analyze it on the facts.
I don't know. Maybe some jammers or something. I don't know. I can't, you know, I don't have definitive evidence to say anything. Oh.
Service 056 on departure, turn right heading 290, runway 24, clear for takeoff, wind 25010. Medevac Med Service 056 affirmative. On departure, turn right heading 290, runway 24, clear for takeoff. Medevac Med Service 056, contact Philly departure 123.8.
123.8, Mike Tango Sierra 056 Medevac. Thank you, good day.
Medevac Med Service 056, Northeast Tower, contact Philly 123.8. Medevac Med Service Northeast Tower. Medevac Med Service 056, Northeast Tower, you on frequency?
Medevac Mike Tango Sierra 056, Northeast Tower, how do you hear this transmission?
Medevac Med Service 056, Northeast Tower.
Northeast Tower, 24. Then we pick up high Foxtrot.
36098 Foxtrot, Northeast ground, roger. Stand by one. I'll get back to you when I can.
Stand by.
First to runway 24, what's going on down there?
Position 765. We have a lost aircraft. We're not exactly sure what happened, so we're trying to figure it out. For now, the field is going to be closed, so no inbounds or outbounds probably.
All right, understand. Thank you.
We're 6098 Foxtrot. I'm sure you copied that, but for right now, we're gonna call the field closed. We'll try to get you out here when we can. If we can't, we'll have to take you over to Atlantic. But stand by for now.
So the audio runs, John Scott, roughly first 12, 13 seconds.
You know, you guys are
the
saying, no, this isn't a
So
coincidence.
they respond, and then
No, this was not a
sure if they
coincidence with
responded twice, but it's
oxygen
possible they
explosion.
responded twice, and then you have this
You know, to have
series of
that thing happen on
medevac,
Wednesday,
and there's no
that
response
F-35
at all, John. So it
just kind of
appears
fall,
like
tailspin out of the
after
air,
wheels up,
and then
there
this
was no response.
situation
Do you find
in
something
1
different in that?
week. It doesn't seem.
No, I think you have it.
It doesn't
exactly
seem
right.
right.
One of the pilots
Seems like
replays or,
something is
restates
up.
The intended takeoff runway and the heading after takeoff. So they're taking off on runway 24. Then they're supposed to turn about 50 degrees to the right as they climb.
The plane crash in the
They're heading
Everglades,
290.
Val Blue in 97,
And
was
the-
caused by
the
oxygen
tower
generators that were
them to switch over
mislabeled.
to
They
Philly
weren't supposed to
approach,
be
which, for those who don't know,
in the hold.
It's a different traffic controller that
I love it. I love it. Thank you for the
covers a
information,
larger
Adri.
area
Thank you for providing
outside
everybody with the
the actual
information. Thank you for
airfield.
that.
So they apparently never did that because you can hear some agitation in the tower controller's voice when he's asking if they are on frequency. They never switched over to the other frequency, which normally happens when you get to about 1,500 feet or so. So I think, pardon me, they were already having problems. And again, that heading that they were supposed to fly, 290, I need to look carefully at a map of where this accident happened, where the crash took place.
Right.
But I believe that they went beyond 290 and almost made a 180-degree turn and flew back to the east instead of the west, which was their intended direction and what air traffic control told them to do. They went back to the east and crashed east of the airport, I believe. And that tells me that they were already lost.
And that's what my thoughts exactly, John, because you're looking at this, and as we explained the other night, you know, you're looking, when they're giving you things, they're giving you compass directions, and it's exactly right where you think maybe they turned, maybe they recognized there was a problem. You know, the old rule is that you aviate, navigate, and then communicate. No time to communicate. Right. You want to make sure you get this plane right. So they turned. Maybe this was an attempt to maybe head back to the airport. Maybe they recognized a problem before, because it got to 1,600 feet. And then, I mean, it was well before they got to 1,600 feet. There was zero communication between the ATC, the air traffic controller, and the pilots. But it seems like there might have been some action right before or right after they got to 1,600 feet.
Right. I'm curious that you don't hear a mayday from the pilot, anything like that. Now, you are exactly correct. You're supposed to fly the plane first, and the last thing you do is talk on the radio. But there's no mayday, nothing like that. So it's very strange. But I think my gut tells me they're going to find that it was a loss of control and probably loss of instruments somehow that led to this accident.
I don't know.
Now, you know, one related note is, if the pilots found that they were, you know, maybe they have an airspeed indicator that is suddenly climbing very quickly, that tells them that they're not leaving the ground. Now they're heading toward the ground. They may have pulled back on the yoke, and that could have broken something off of the airplane. You can do that. You can overstress an airplane. You can snap a wing off if you act too quickly at high speeds, and you know, something like that could have happened, and at that point they don't have an airplane they can control at all.
Right, but I wonder if you go through the process of elimination, John, and I know, you know, it's all early, but if you go through the process of elimination, if in fact they were not on the heading they were given and they tried to turn back, that would indicate that maybe it wasn't this catastrophic thing or this inside explosion. Maybe it was something they simply lost, and they tried to correct the ship before it just went down. It just stalled and then went into a spin.
Sure. And, you know, when you look at the angle at which they came to Earth, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that something had broken off. I mean, it's hard to describe for people who don't fly, but spatial disorientation is so wicked. And, you know, I've mentioned that that's what killed JFK Jr. It's what led to the Kobe Bryant crash, because you're in the clouds, you can't see anything. Your inner ear is telling you that this way is up when it's really the other way. It's just very, very difficult. You've got to rely on your instruments. And if for some reason they weren't able to see their instruments, maybe they had an instrument failure, it would have been very, very difficult to bring that plane in safely anywhere.
Captain says Maui fire is definitely not normal, and media seems to be behind the cover-ups. Yeah, I agree with that.
What are you finding?
This also
well, Trace,
stinks.
I've been trying to make calls
I'm going to jump into
to
this.
fire officials who are on the ground.
I'm going to mute this. I getting some updates on X here. Hold on.
That looks like a fucking plane. It's just laying there right next to me. Fuck. Fuck. Oh my god. Fuck. It was a fucking plane.
I don't know why this guy's walking through this crap anyways. Dummy.
Oh my god. Oh, no. Who's hurt? Oh my god. You got it? Yeah. Jesus.
He shouldn't be walking through that for footage, but whatever.
McDonald's nearby from looking at some maps and some of this video, and then also a diner. Witnesses and workers at that diner say somebody was sitting down having dinner when a big piece of metal broke right through the glass of the diner and hit someone in the head. I don't know how badly that man is injured, but that is coming from the diner there on the ground and from reporters trying to get information. Going back to what we know as well about the victim, just for people tuning in, we can tell you that it's a young girl. They won't give her age yet because they don't want to give too much information, as they still have not identified her by name. But we know her and her mom died on their way back to Mexico, as well as those crew members. In terms of how experienced they were, I know you and John have been talking about that. We're told by the jet company that they were very experienced. So you can, put with that as you will.
Possibly.
We know 4 FAA officials are out there. The NTSB is on scene, the governor, the mayor. We're just hoping in that next briefing that they'll give a little bit more information. They're asking for prayers, and they're also telling people don't touch anything. That's because jet fuel is so dangerous, and this whole area is basically contaminated. So they've got some officials in there, too, trying to clear that out as well, Trace.
Yeah. Alexis, great information. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you might be right, Stacey, or Tracy.
Just got the statement just to kind of give the verbatim.
Yeah, hopefully
here.
that they were looking for people, not just trying to grab footage.
Had been treated in Philadelphia for a life-threatening condition and was being transported home to Mexico, according to Jet Rescue Air Ambulance. The flight's final destination was Tijuana after a stop in Missouri. The patient and her mother were on board along with 4 crew members. This was a seasoned crew, they're saying, that everyone involved in these flights goes through rigorous training. And the quote here is, when an incident like this happens, it's shocking and surprising. All of the aircraft are maintained. Not a penny is spared because we know our mission is so critical. This, by the way, if you didn't hear it, this is a high-end rescue ambulance service, air ambulance service, if you will. This is the same company that actually picked up David Ortiz when he was shot in the Dominican Republic several years ago. They took him back to Boston, and this is one of those places, one of those people that, or services that uses great jets. This is a great airplane, and their safety record is immaculate. Let's bring in retired airman, American Airlines Captain and Coast Guard Aviator Steve Blankenship, a former flight nurse who served a helicopter crash into the Potomac River 20 years ago, Jonathan Godfrey, former Black Hawk helicopter crew chief Mark McKeithran, and retired Air Force Brigadier General Christopher Walker. Thank you, gentlemen, all for coming on. This is great. I want to go to you, if I can, very first, General. I'm curious, Jonathan, let me just go to you. I'm curious what you think when you hear that John Scott and I talking about the whole conversation between the air traffic control and the plane. There was certainly confirmation when they might have just been wheels up, but after that it was silence and they went to 1,600 feet and there was no response at all from the airplane. What do you make of that, Jonathan?
Yeah, I think that aviating and controlling the aircraft at that point is the primary concern. I think it's not unusual, especially if there was an emergency.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Steve, to you, give me your take on what you think might have happened. There's a lot of different theories out there. What are you leaning toward when you see the condition of the plane, when you hear the transmission between the air traffic control tower and the pilots? What is your best assessment of this, Steve?
Well, I tell you what, we've had a lot happen to us in the past 48 hours. This is a hard assessment to make. I heard about disorientation. That's a possibility. But based on what you said, Trace, about the training of this company and what they have to go through, having gone through that type of training, I doubt very seriously if these seasoned instrument pilots would have had an issue that they couldn't recover from unless everything went dark ship. And then God knows what you do in that situation. Without instruments and IFR conditions, it'd be very, very difficult to maintain a straight and level flight or even a normal climb out with a turn. Mm-hmm. And remember, Trace, 1,600 feet, that's just a couple of heartbeats. It could have been also something catastrophic happened to the flight control system. They could have lost an engine got it sideways, spiraled into the ground. It's only
Right.
speculation, my friend, at this point.
Is there an indication to you, Steve, when you see and you hear that we were talking about the fact that they were told to go at 290, so they were told to head at 290, and they ended up kind of coming back to the east, and that's where the crash. Does it sound like there was an attempt to try and right this airplane?
Either that or they had an engine failure that turned them that specific heading. That's what happens. If you don't catch an engine failure real quick and press on the opposite rudder to maintain a straight line of flight, the airplane will yaw to the left or the right, depending on which engine fails. So that's highly probable, too. I think that would be my first guess. At 1,600 feet, to erratically have a departure from a climb out, the nose of the airplane going the opposite direction clearly points potential engine failure to me at this juncture. But Trish, 1,600 feet,
Let me just pause you there, Captain, really quickly. I want to dip into our local affiliate because they're talking to someone on scene.
Young child with a head laceration. A piece actually went through a red pickup's window, hit the kid, and the parents were shouting, "Help us, help us, help us." No one was around to help at the time. Cops were just approaching. I took the shirt off my back, gave it to them, said, "Push this on his head, keep pressure." I ran back to my car. I got rags. I got anything I could find to absorb blood, push on cuts. My mom worked at a doctor's office. She was there. She was helping me. She's disabled. She doesn't walk fast. She was walking fast. And cops were very thankful to us. They said, "Thank you very much. We've got this now. Please try to get out of here safely." There were 3 or 4 car accidents just getting out of the mall. And I'm like, I'm getting out of here. I got home. I threw up twice. Because the adrenaline just said, "Hi, I'm here." And I threw up. It was a very shocking and disturbing experience, seeing everything that happened.
Did you know it was a plane right away?
I figured it was a helicopter or plane because I was hearing someone say it was a 747. I'm like, it's too small. We would have heard it. Those big engines. I find out it's a Learjet 55. My sister works on airplanes, literally at Northeast Airport. Well, not anymore, actually. And she texted me saying, "Yo, did you see that?" Yeah. Because she knew that I was going to be right there. She was worried. My entire family was worried. My daughter texted me and saying, "Please be okay. Please be okay. Please be okay." And I literally got home and I collapsed. I was unable to do anything for a little while.
So when the plane initially crashed, you said the truck next to you got impaled with some debris. Did you see anything like that else going on around you, or was that truck
Very, very much so. The car that was parked on Cotman on the side had a hole at least 2 feet big in its windshield, and it was burning.
Was there
I looked
in that car, or was it just parked?
I don't know. I looked and I couldn't see anyone. I'm hoping that the child got out safely. I don't know anymore. I wish I could find them because it was a small silver car and say, "Thank you for being alive. Thank you for getting out." The brunt of the impact was absorbed by Dunkin' Donuts. And then I've been scared, but this was a new level.
You've been listening to a witness describe the horrific moments that he witnessed this plane crash in Northeast Philadelphia.
That was graphic, and that was about as good a description as we have heard about what was happening on the ground when the plane hit. Just to kind of couple up on that, NBC Philadelphia reporting saying 6 people were injured in this. The 6 victims were all taken to Temple University's hospital. They're talking about people on the ground. Temple University Hospital's Jeans campus. 3 people were treated and released, while 3 others remain in the hospital, the source said. The victims include an 11-year-old boy who suffered head injuries, a 31-year-old man who suffered head injuries, and a 30-year-old woman who suffered facial injuries, according to the source. And he was talking about a child that got hurt. We have no idea if it's the same child, but it gives you an indication of exactly what was happening on the ground here. Very descriptive. Mark, to you, when you look at all the scenarios and you hear people say, I think it might have been some oxygen containers because this was a medevac plane. When you hear those types of things coupled with spatial disorientation and engine loss, what are you thinking?
Well, initially, it's definitely all speculation at this point. There's just no way of knowing at this moment, not until we get a look at that black box, see what the controls were, see what the internal communications was. There's just no real good way to identify that. However, each of those things that others have discussed here, all of those are distinctly possible, and they are common. I lost a very good crew chief friend of mine, Luke DeGroff, his first flight in Honduras. When he went inadvertent IMC, went into the clouds, they lost spatial orientation and crashed into a mountain. This happens. Weight and balance issues happen, especially after takeoff. And there's a number of things. Flight controls get lost, especially on an aircraft like that, which is very sensitive to fly anyways. Any number of things could be going on, but we just won't know until we get access to that box.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. General Walker, what do you think? What's your, as you see the video and you see this thing, we don't really even know, General, if this thing was on fire when it came down. There were, of course, reports and there were some video that made it look like it was on fire, but there's other video where it looks like it's just lit up and not on fire at all.
I say it was not on fire. It looked like it was the landing lights, because typically it's not mandated, but typically keep the landing lights on when you're within 10 miles of the airport or below 10,000 feet. But from the angle of descent, it looked to me like a stall. So it had to have been control surface failure or engine loss or something like that, or the instruments totally went out. But I'm telling you, I know people throughout my career who end up working for some of these companies. They are well experienced. And even if the instruments went dark, I do not see an experienced crew just falling out of the sky like that. So I think there had to be some other mechanical malfunction.
Yeah. Steve, back to you now, Captain. I appreciate you were just talking about this, and we interrupted you a little bit talking about the fact that this might have been an engine loss. It might have been engine failure. Is it highly unusual to lose both engines? And when you were talking about if you lose one engine, it's kind of the old dead engine, dead rudder. You want to make sure that you compensate. Fair assessment?
That's perfectly accurate, having been there and done that. Yes, sir, it is.
And so what does that mean? What's the danger if you don't? If it happens and you lose an engine, you would know which engine and you would know how to compensate, right?
You should, but it's important to step on the right rudder. If you step on the wrong rudder, you're only exacerbating the situation of the engine failure. Something catastrophic might have happened. I don't think that can be ruled out. But one of the gentlemen, pretty wise, said, we're really not going to know until we get the tapes, till we get the recorders, the flight data recorder and the voice recorder. They will paint a real clear picture, Trace, of what happened there, and I hope they can find them. I hope they survive the crash.
Yeah, I want to play this just in case you gentlemen haven't heard this. I want to play this. This is because it was our first time hearing it. This is the audio from between the air traffic controller and the flight and the medevac flight. I want to play this thing. It's about 2 minutes. The first part is important because you actually hear the medical transport plane responding, and then they go silent. Watch this.
Medevac, mid-service 056, on departure, turn right heading 290, runway 24, clear for takeoff, wind 25010. Medevac, mid-service 056, affirmative. On departure, turn right heading 290, runway 24, clear for takeoff. Medevac Med Service 056, contact Philly departure 123.8.
123.8, Mike Tango Sierra 056 Medevac. Thank you, good day.
Medevac Med Service 056, Northeast Tower, contact Philly 123.8. Medevac Med Service, Northeast Tower. Medevac Med Service 056, Northeast Tower, you on frequency?
Medevac Mike Tango Sierra 056, Northeast Tower, how do you hear this transmission?
Medevac Med Service 056, Northeast Tower.
Turkey 6098 Foxtrot, Northeast Ground, Roger. Stand by one. I'll get back to you when I can. Stand by.
Approach to runway 24, what's going on down there?
Position 755. We have a lost aircraft. We're not exactly sure what happened, so we're trying to figure it out. For now, the field is going to be closed, so no inbounds or outbounds probably.
All right, understand. Thank you.
We're 6098 Foxtrot. I'm sure you copied that, but for right now, we're gonna call the field closed. We'll try to get you out there when we can. If we can't, we'll have to take you over to Atlantic. But stand by for now.
Jonathan, as you hear that and you know that the medevac plane, the Learjet 55, responded saying yes, they would go 290, and after that it was silent. What do you make of that?
I don't think that I am qualified. I know what 290 is, but I'm a nurse. I would be in the back of the aircraft.
Right.
Ask that question on to somebody else.
Yeah. Mark, can you answer that?
Yeah. The radar makes a signal.
Sorry, guys. I was seeing if there's any updates.
And it'll track it one time. By the time it comes back around, it's gone. The aircraft was dropped out.
But it doesn't look like there's any new
only 1,600
news.
Feet.
Crazy videos
Learjet
coming in from the video. Unfortunately,
it's a top
it's
speed
busy
of
area.
about 540 miles an hour, and it's accelerating up there. And
yeah, Johnny Sunglasses, I think you're right, man. Something ain't right. Something ain't right here.
And when that nose comes
I don't know
down,
what it is.
It's just accelerating. It drops out of radar.
I definitely wonder if the signals are getting jammed up.
It says a lot that
that is a huge possibility.
No mayday, no anything. And so it'll be important for us to hear those internal communications. That'll tell us more about what happened.
Alan says, I hope you and everyone stay safe. Yeah.
They didn't respond.
Very definitely. Strange times right now.
Maybe they were busy. Maybe they didn't have time to communicate, or is it something you can do simultaneously?
Catherine says none of these most recent tragedies make sense to me. I don't know what, but it feels it feels like something is up. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but something is up. I know China had recently infiltrated some of the government systems. Also, there was an article back in 2023 where there was indication that Chinese hackers, back in 2023, Chinese hackers had the ability to control water, power, and something else.
And to you, Steve,
so
Captain,
this could be a high likelihood.
They were up, at least the air traffic control says they were up for 30 seconds, and then they went off radar. So it's possible that it happened before. At what point does the plane come off of radar? And could this have happened that they've gotten to 1,600 feet in 20 seconds? In 22 seconds, it happened then, and then by 30 seconds, they were off of radar.
That's highly probable, Trace, that could happen. But as far as coming off,
all right, I'm going to lower this a little bit. I'm going to run through the chat real quick. Like, why was the Black Hawk helicopter on Wednesday flying in DC airspace? They train close to the DC airspace, which is crazy interesting to me. Like why they do that so close to the DC airspace. Yet they had no lights. That doesn't make sense. And then they also had potentially night goggles on.
I hope that explains it.
And I don't know if you guys remember, but about 2 or 3 weeks ago, they introduced some autonomous flight with that particular Black Hawk. I don't know if there was parallels with that, but
and 1,600 feet is just like that, Trace. When you got the power on the engine, there's one comment.
Yeah, yeah. I
It
kind of
was
have
so
this
quick.
feeling too.
These guys were so busy.
Cyber
but what happened to it was so much shock and
warfare-esque
awe,
situation.
They couldn't communicate.
They have weather
They didn't
modification.
navigate, communicate. They probably didn't even have time to think about communicating at that juncture, my friend.
Yeah. But Captain, did they
The
have
Chinese
time
were
to
allowed
recover?
full
At
access for
1,600
4
feet, is
years
there
under
anything
Biden.
you
Yep.
can do? Or is it just
They
not
didn't
enough
give.
time? I mean, I know that.
Yeah, they didn't give the Biden crime
there's a lot of
family
people who
millions
say,
for
"Look,
nothing.
we need 45
Absolutely.
seconds. You give us 45 seconds and we can pretty much recover. But if you're up to 1,600 feet and you lose the plane at
Yeah,
22
something is
seconds, or
up.
you
Yeah,
have some
I
kind
agree
of
with you.
Major issue. Does that give you enough time, enough altitude to recover?
Yes, you can have an engine failure.
I'm not getting on a plane makes
from
me worried
takeoff
about driving my car
up to
with a
altitude,
computer chip.
and still
Yeah.
drive it. So,
Yeah.
and in a simulator, as one of the commentators said, yeah, we are well trained. I can't
Yeah,
tell you
this
the amount of times we
if
had
this is the scenario, if it is
and in naval
modern
flight training, I can't tell you how
warfare-esque,
many times they pulled
and
the
they have
engine
access to
at very
digital
low altitude,
assets
300 feet, 400
like
feet,
water,
500 feet,
electricity,
up to
situations like this,
beyond
jammers.
1,600 feet. We were pulling engines
There was
all
an
the
instance
time.
that we were
You
talking
just
about
used to
on
getting on the right
Discord
rudder and getting the airplane flying
about
straight
these
and level
drones
again.
flying up and then
So,
them
yeah,
just
you can
falling
recover
down with
with
full
an engine
battery.
failure at,
You know, there's
1,600
something
feet,
nefarious going on, and
unless they did the
I don't have the
procedures wrong,
ability
which
to
I
say
doubt
like
very
exactly
seriously
what
based
it
on
is,
training that we've
and
heard
I don't think
Again,
I don't think
what
the news outlets
does
will
brings us
mention
to,
that,
sir? It
but
brings us to
I
the
feel
fact
like
that
there's
it could have
something
been
nefarious going
clearly
on.
a catastrophic failure that caused that airplane to come out of the sky.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And General Walker, would you like to, I mean, any speculation on what that catastrophic failure might be? We had an airline expert on earlier who believes that maybe it was the oxygen tanks. And we know that oxygen
They can see
itself
where you
doesn't
are
burn,
with a
but
computer
if
chip.
one of those tanks explodes, it is strong enough for, to pierce the aircraft. Is something of that nature, do you think?
Every time
is
the
that a
military is
feasible
called out for
explanation?
something like the border or a tragedy
So
like
I'll
this,
say this.
and start
with
attacking.
all C-130s, C-17s, and such. with
Yeah,
their
me
medical
either, Gina.
evacuation
What
with
is
their
up, Gina,
oxygen
by the
tanks
way?
in there, the way they're configured, it's highly unlikely an oxygen tank just exploded like that. I tend to believe it's more.
Yeah, we were talking about that the other day,
control
Terry.
surface
41
failure
days
of
of being
some
alive,
sort,
Terry hasn't been
like
on a plane.
The other speakers have been saying.
Yeah.
Very odd. No
It's-
announcement
it
from
really
CEO
is
still.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Mark, I mean, you look at this and you think.
Yeah, I just
all
looked at that
pilots
to see
are
if there
taught to
was an
handle
announcement from the
emergencies,
CEO. There
but
hasn't been
there's
anything yet.
something
Thanks for the
cataclysmic that
update,
happens, There's just
Steph.
very little you can do. And when you see the plane coming out of the sky, like it came out of the sky, it appears as if there was no remedy.
Yeah,
This was one of those.
The White House confirmed the
unsurvivable,
drones that they
crashes.
are ours.
Yeah, it's just pure physics. 1,600 feet, around 500 miles an hour,
All right.
or even 300 miles an hour, even 100 miles an hour.
Let me just do one more
That
check.
nose goes over. Once it gets that unusual attitude and starts that plummet, even if you were able to get that flat and level,
Do you guys think that this is from the situation from earlier
and so
regarding the tariffs
it's a
from
lot to
Canada
recover quickly.
and Mexico?
Like I said,
I
like
just
others are
I just
saying,
thought about that
it's
right
something
now.
that
Do you
they
guys
can
think that this
do
was a situation
typically,
with those
if they make
because
the
this
initial
flight did come from
corrections
Mexico?
quick, and these guys seem to be able to do that. I agree with pretty much everyone else. It absolutely looks like, seems like, behaves like a catastrophic failure of either a flight control or flaps, ailerons, anything on the aerodynamics of that aircraft. Just lost complete control, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I wonder, Jonathan, if you have a different perspective on this, the oxygen and so forth, since you've been a nurse in the back of aircraft, are you ever concerned about medical grade oxygen?
How could that helicopter not see that plane easily avoid it? Yeah,
I mean,
and it
I
can
think
stop.
that the
It could stop.
FAA
That thing
and
was
the
jamming.
Securing devices and the regulations would make that a very wildly low concern.
Yeah. Gentlemen, stand by if you would. I want to play some.
I said
of the
something about
sound
that in
because
my
we've been looking at pictures in the
You know
upper
what?
left-hand
Most of the
corner.
conspiracy
This is
theories came
shortly
true,
after the crash.
right?
But I want to play some sound of the people
I'm wondering if
who
they
kind of
if they're
came by, the witnesses and what it
Captain
looked
says, I
and
wonder if they
felt like
jammed and they don't
shortly after the
realize.
crash.
Yeah.
Watch this.
Yep. Look at that explosion. It's crazy.
Did she witness it, Lindy Lee?
All right. I'm gonna jump on off, but I'll keep you guys updated on this situation. I'm glad at least we got the statement from the mayor and Shapiro. They're doing a solid job out there. First responders were on site pretty quickly. My prayers go out to any individual that was affected here. My continued prayers still go out to North Carolina and the individuals that lost everything in LA as well.
I have no idea, but I would doubt it.
All right, I'm gonna jump on off here. If anything pops up here later on tonight, I might possibly jump back on. But we've already heard the statement from the mayor and Shapiro, so I truly appreciate you guys just hopping on and kind of going through this with me. I really do, and I want to give kudos to all the moderators in the chat. The moderators are awesome, and I think me personally, I know this for a fact. We have the best chat. We have the best chat. So shout out to everybody in the chat. I'll keep you guys updated on this. If you're catching this on the replay, type in replay in the comment section. Keep you guys informed. Smash the like button if you kindly would, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Stacy. Really appreciate you. Thank you, Tracy, Susan, Gina, Stephanie, Allen, Tommy, everybody in the chat. Really appreciate you guys. Airdrie's awesome. She knows what's up. Drop your comments down below. Smash the like button. Share, subscribe, guys. And I'll keep you guys posted. Chat soon, guys.
Massive fireball. I don't have any other way.